imagine yourself driving along, minding your own business on a beautiful day, and a patrolman pulls you over. You give him your license, he looks at your license, he looks at you, and he says, "Hey, you're not him." "What? That's my license." Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests, it didn't start there, and it wouldn't end there either. These were the days before picture IDs, so we can excuse it, possibly. I am the first of 4 boys, one after the other, in 4 years, with an older sister and a younger sister as bookends. 6 kids, 6 years. My parents took this whole go forth and multiply way too seriously. Thought we had it under control. 8 years later, my little sister, oops, comes along. I am lost in this morass of kids, and I was confused. Who am I? For the first 10 years of my life, I was Tommy. And then, all of a sudden, I'm Charlie. For the rest of my life. I don't know who I am. Was I twins and I forgot which one I was? I don't know who I am anymore. And if that's not bad enough, I checked my baby book to find out who I am, and it's got my birthday wrong. I'm the second kid, and she's already confused. Well, I thought that I finally figured it out. Okay, I'm Charlie, I'm Tommy, whatever. I get my driver's license, and it says right on there, Charles Thomas Lee. Okay, I'm like double mint. I'm a breath mint and a candy mint. Right? I'm both. I'm this guy. So I get my license and I think, well, that's going to prove to everybody who I am. So I'm driving along on that fateful day, minding my own business. I get pulled over. The cop looks at my license and says, "You're not him." I said, "Well, what do you think I'm impersonating myself?" It's me. I know it's me. At least I'm pretty sure it's me. Not really. I'm losing control of myself. So he says, "Well," he says, "you weren't doing anything wrong. It was just a routine stop, but go." And he seemed as confused as I was. So he lets me go. And I think, okay, don't think much of it. Flash forward a little while, a couple of more years. I'm in and out of the service. And I'm driving along, minding my own business. Beautiful day. Another cop pulls me over. Looks at my license, looks at me, and says, "You're not him." And this time, it would have been better if I hadn't been me. Because he looks at my license, he says, "This is the worst record I've ever seen." Now, I don't have a license. I stop at stop signs, which will identify me as a foreigner in California. But this was back in New York. I actually stopped at stop signs, and I didn't have any tickets. But he's got a laundry list of tickets. He pulls out this list, he says, "Not according to this." And I said, "But I've never gotten a ticket." He says, what does he say? "Tell it to the judge." I think, okay, I'm going to do that because he'll have the record. Well, go into court. And I go in propria persona, which, any lawyers out here? That's Latin for having a fool for a client, representing yourself. Well, I go in, apparently the wife's judge burned his breakfast. He looks at this, he says, "This is the worst case of scofflaw," somebody who doesn't answer their tickets, right, "that I've ever seen." I end up in jail for 12 hours to think about this. But he gives me a list of the tickets now. I said, "Wait a minute, if you're saying I did something," the word allegation, that's a scary word. I'm alleged. I didn't do it, I'm alleged to have done it, but now I have to prove that I didn't do it. I'm looking over these tickets. And I'm saying, the cars, it's my license. Well, wait a minute. This happened when I was overseas. This one happened, there's an accident. I was overseas. It couldn't have been me. Well, it turns out that Uncle Sam makes a really good alibi. For some of them, at least enough to get me free again. So I'm now out in the street again, for what that's worth. And I'm looking over these tickets, and I'm seeing, okay, well, that's my father's car. My father has the same name as me. I wonder if he went through the same thing when he was a kid. But I look, that's my father's car, okay. Could be an honest mistake. I look, the other car is my mother's. It's a Corvair. My father wouldn't be caught dead in that. Okay, so that's not my father's a mistake there, but my mother probably wouldn't be impersonating me, and a cop probably wouldn't mistake her for me. What's going on? But wait a minute, here's a car, that's my, wait a minute, doesn't my brother have a girlfriend with a Mustang? And he had a girlfriend with a GTO? And wait a minute, here's a Cadillac convertible. That's my brother's car. What's going on? His name is John, he's the next one. He's the next younger one. So I'm starting to put two and two together. And I call up John. I said, John, is there any way they could have mistaken you for me when, you know, how did your name get on, how did your cars get on my license? He says, you didn't know that? I said, no, what? He says, well, you had your license first. And so when you would go to sleep, we would just pull your license out of your wallet and go joyriding. And it was beautiful, because when the tickets would come to the house, if they got a ticket, they would just ramp up and throw them away. No problem. For you, no problem. No problem for you. Problem for me. Well, there was never, it was like a big joke. It was like, oh, you didn't know that? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, now I've got, well, flash forward a couple of $1,000 and a couple of years to unwind this mess, right? No attempt to help me pay for this, no, but I figured it's over, okay, fine. Go ahead another few years, maybe a couple of months ago, I get a letter from Enterprise Rent-A-Car telling me to return their car. Return it within 24 hours. They're going to report it stolen and have me arrested. What? I don't have your, I do rent cars, but I don't have your car. I said, but, I put the two and two together. I said, oh, wait a minute. I called him back. And I said, you know what, when you do find that car, have somebody pull it over. Say hello to my brother and say, hey, you're not him.